Hello, we're going to be thinking today about subtraction, and particularly we're going to think about subtracting decimals. So when we're subtracting numbers with decimals, there's something we have to really think about in the way that we write it down. So let's have a look at these two examples. Which of these is correct? Okay, so we've got 12.34 subtract 10.5, but which is the correct way of writing it? I hope you've all said this one, okay? Because what we need to make sure is that the decimal points are lined up, okay? We don't line it just to the one end. We have to make sure the decimals are lined up. And that means that everything else is in line according to its place value. So here's our calculation, 12.34 subtract 10.5. So where do we start? Well, one thing that might make it a bit easier is to do this. Fill in that gap with a 0 as a place value, a placeholder. So now we can start by calculating, can't we? Where do we start? Well, we're going to start with the hundredths. So we'll do 4 hundredths, take 0 hundredths, it gives us 4 hundredths. And then when we move to the tenths, we've got 3 tenths, and we're going to subtract 5 tenths from that. Well, haven't got enough tenths at the top to take 5, so what do? We need to exchange, and we exchange one from the units, give it to the tenths. That means we've now only got 1 unit left, but that tenths is now 13 tenths. So we've got 13 tenths, take 5 tenths, gives us 8 tenths. Then we move on to the units. We've got 1, take away 0, 1 subtract 0, gives us 1, and then our tens, 1 10, subtract 1 10, no tens left. So our answer there is 1.84. Okay, so everything was lined up properly. Now, what is this one? What is 145.2 subtract 134.19? Think about how we would write that down. Here we go. So if you notice on the top here, we've got the 145.2 on the top with 134.19 underneath. What's going to make it a little bit easier for us? Put the 0 in. Okay, adding that extra 0 there into that empty space, and it means we can work there. Now, because we weren't going to start again with our hundredths, we haven't got enough hundredths on the top to subtract the 9 that's underneath. So we're going to need to exchange from the tenths and give one of that to the hundredths. So now we've got 10 hundredths, take 9 hundredths, and we're left with 1 tenth in there. So our final answer is 10 hundredths take 9 would be 1. 1 tenth subtract 1 tenth is no tenths, 0. 5 ones subtract 4 ones is 1. 4 tens subtract 3 tens is a 1 10. And then our hundreds, we've got 100 take 100 is 0 hundred. So our final answer for that is 11.01. Okay, so when subtracting numbers with decimals, make sure the decimal point is lined up. Make sure that if there's a gap, if there's a space at the end of the number, put a 0 in. It always helps, okay? Hopefully that will help you when you're doing your subtraction problems today.